How is everyone doing? Let me know if you can hear me. Welcome. The full moon will go exact in an hour. So if you haven't done any releasing ceremonies, go ahead and make you one now. The energy is peaking right now, but 2 days before and 2 days after is the best time, to do any rituals for releasing or planting new seeds, full moon or new moon. So, yeah. Okay, I'm using the Shaman deck star card right here. Hope it looks good. I'll turn this around. That's not what that button did. Okay. My bad. Okay, so get a bit closer. Got stuck on my toe. So I wrote down some topics. I was looking at Planet Watcher earlier. So on Planet Watcher, it shows like real time what the planets are actually doing. I found my Leo necklace here. Everybody keep asking me, am I a Pisces? No, I'm not a Pisces. I just have a 12th house sun. Okay? Anyone wondering? But let's get into it. So the first thing that I wrote down was the moon conjuncting Neptune earlier today. So that's deception and emotions very high, along with confusion, compassion, and altering the need to alter mental states. Pisces does rule in Neptune energy. They rule altering your mind so that you can take the walls down that you have to keep people out or away, or certain things out and away, and then it kind of like allows the waters of the subconscious to kind of like swim through, so you don't really have a barrier like Saturn is, a barrier, a blockage, a stop sign. So the next thing I wrote down was Mercury being in shadow at 23 degrees Libra is trying to exactly over to Jupiter earlier retrograde in Aquarius. So that just means that we have the ability to understand relationships and how they all are gifting us with information from our highest self, which was funny because I was shuffling the deck, just clearing the energy out, and the star card, which is Aquarius card, was at the bottom of the deck. So and 23 is a number 5. 2 plus 3 equals 5. So it's about change. So we're having a change in relationships and understanding the information that comes from relationships, which help us to grow and be better at relationships, but starting with the relationship we have with ourselves and our higher power. That Mercury is also squaring Pluto retrograde 24 degrees in Capricorn. So with this realization, we will have a challenge to release relationships through communication and pauses to create new patterns and ideas. And because Mercury is retrograde right now and it's in shadow, they will, and Pluto is still retrograde as well, so they will come kind of close again. When Mercury goes direct, they will meet up again. I didn't look up when, but they will actually meet up again. But for right now, I think it's funny that it's in shadow as it's making its way to exact square with Pluto retrograde, because the challenge is for us to release things, and things are being released right now when it comes to how we manage information and how we think about relationships. We are releasing, as well as with the full moon, what has prevented us from owning our true power and our true nature of what it means to be us. So when it goes retrograde back over this time period, we will be revisiting you know, the thinking processes that took place during this time. And it'll be like kind of like a rerun of like, oh yeah, remember that one thing that happened and this is how you handle it. Okay, well now here's the full disclosure, because that's what retrogrades do. It turns up the energy to maximum and then it kind of like dwindles down, but it's still max, but it's like max times 10, and then it kind of like dwindles down and then goes direct. It's still in shadow, things like that. So also with Mercury, it's in conjuncting the moon in Pisces earlier at 23 degrees exact. So that was us being illuminated to what's truly bothering us on a subconscious level. This could also be having dreams of, and being able to communicate with those who, Pisces energy, you can feel but you can't see. And telepathically delivering messages that way. Someone is trying to build a relationship, or you're trying to build a relationship with your higher power, like finding the parts of you that makes it hard or is irritating to you, or your higher self might be irritated with you, but like trying to find that medium basically is what I'm saying, like those mediumship powers that we possess, being turned up a notch. But again, Mercury is still in shadow, so we don't have the full disclosure. We just know that this is what's going on with us at this time. And then moving on to Venus, 11 degrees Scorpio is in conjunct exactly with Chiron retrograde in Aries. So Venus being in Scorpio, Scorpio is the sign of deep mystery of our psychological selves. And Scorpio teaches us to break down emotional barriers that we didn't know that we had, but once it rises to the surface, you're being forced to deal with it. And once you transform through that experience, you can never go back, because now you've seen what was lingering in the dark, and it came to light. And the next sign, Sagittarius, is how you use that light to progress forward. So anyway, Venus being 11 degrees in conjunct with Chiron and Aries, they share similar energies, but Aries is more quick to take action, because, you know, fire sign. And then Scorpio is more reserved, water, but also still persistent. Scorpio likes to take its time to, you know, obtain what it is that it wants, because it has enough desire to wait for the right time, whereas Aries is ready to go and get it now. It doesn't have as much patience as Scorpio. So that's the irritating thing between those two signs. And with it being Venus and Chiron, it's like you're ready to dive deeper into a relationship or a commitment, but there are parts of your ego that's still healing, that's not allowing that relationship to move forward the way that you quite want it to. And it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Because it's in Scorpio, it could just be your relationship with money, how you deal with other people's money, how you deal with intimacy. You want to be intimate with someone, and it doesn't have to be sexual, but you want to have an intimate relationship with someone, but there are parts of your ego that is being healed that kind of prevents that from happening, and you need more patience with yourself as well as the next person who is all going through the same thing. So what I wrote down here for that is that being irritated with secrets or hidden money, abundance, attachment to ego being transformed, feeling like someone robbed you of something you have to create alone to feel complete in your identity. So basically what I was trying to get at was sometimes we could be irritated with people because we may feel like they try to do something very slight, for like try to be underhand with how they do things, because Scorpio doesn't communicate everything. That's one of the signs that have been reported to be very difficult when it comes to communication, because they don't share every single detail, like maybe like a Virgo or a Gemini, where they're not very communicative. They're very exclusive, and it's particularly like that for a reason, because it's a form of protection, not only for themselves but also for everyone involved. So there may be instances in our relationship, Venus, where we're trying to relate to someone, but we need to pause and get our own emotional barriers out the way and deal with the situation from the inside out. And it can cause someone else to have conflicting emotions, because they may, again, feel like they were robbed of an opportunity to do something that would feed their ego, or you feed their ego rather, and it's not happening that way. So they may feel like there's some type of, irritation. So but because it's Aries, this is about identity and how you identify yourself, how you take leadership in your life. And sometimes allowing people to see where they need to take leadership in their own personal lives actually does them one better than trying to, Venus and Scorpio, control the relationship so they don't never have to. And it doesn't allow the identification of that spiritual experience to grow the way it's supposed to. And Aries is the first sign as well. So it's very important to be aware of who you are when you make decisions, and not allow other people's, hidden motives of your own hidden motives to get in the way of moving forward on your journey. So we have Mars trine North Node 3 degrees exact here. Shout out to Dolo. But Mars is in Libra and the North Node is in Gemini. So this talks about taking action towards your own destiny, creating from a deep desire of change and balance inside. And that's with the higher and the lower self, which is, Gemini, the higher mind, and the heart as well. It makes me think of the Lover's card, having that joining together between your divine masculine and divine feminine is putting you in the alignment of you taking action and doing things you haven't done before in this lifetime in order to take care of the karmic debt you have from a previous life. That's what the North Node is really all about. Because it's sextiling Sagittarius, the South Node, 3 degrees Sagittarius, that opportunity from your previous cycle is basically allowing you to see in the past where you may have fallen off, or where you may have gotten too comfortable with other people doing things. And then now with this Mars in Libra, it's allowing you to take your time and make decisions so you don't repeat the same cycles. Wheel of Fortune, Jupiter, Sagittarius energy. So if you do hop on that same train or that same wheel again, you're doing it from a point of view where you have a higher, more widened Jupiter perspective. And now you can move forward with your own ideas about that Gemini, which is you going, on your journey. So, and I also wrote balancing of extremes here with this. That's for the full moon, 28 degrees Virgo in Pisces. So 28 breaks down to 10, which ultimately breaks down to the number 1, which is about identity, self, leadership. Just to keep it brief, you want to be fluid enough to release your fears with compassion, but be practical enough to not be played with. Okay, and take control of your life, move past illusions, move past illusion influenced by self-deprecating thinking and escapism. Moving on doesn't mean spitefully separating. Grace serves us well. Okay, and that grace comes from both sides, Virgo and Pisces. Virgo is very analytical, great communicator, able to translate lots of information very quickly. They are the earthly manifestation of what Gemini is, being they're both mercurial. But Virgo is a divine messenger. They give birth to what Leo creates. And Leo being the sun, the sun is ruler of Leo. When it gives birth to all of what's in the heart and what makes you strong and have courage, the spine, which both of those are Leo's anatomy. When you give birth to what makes you strong and what keeps you going in life, you get the physical, material representation of, you know, value when it comes to your mind. And if your mind is now able to process information after it's gone through the stages of creating that backbone, that strong spine, and using its heart to create, you know, whatever it wants, you start to see things, details, Virgo, that are very important, and you pay attention to them, and then you connect the dots to all the other synchronicities that you see. When it comes to Pisces, you have so many different ways to view and see the synchronicities, and you can make them out to be whatever you want them to be. Whatever your imagination tells you, which you control your imagination, but whatever your imagination is constructing those points to be is what is going to be drawn up as. So with the balancing of the Virgo and the Pisces is, you know, allow yourself to detach and let go emotionally and experience being one with the all. And that's one of the things that I was recently able to really experience. I kept getting closer and closer to this experience. Just in my development, I always felt like I had to strive to have the type of relationship I wanted to have. That was similar to my mother, where, you know, you have complete and utter trust in the divine. And that was something I worked on, and I just couldn't mentally, Virgo, and I have a lot of Virgo in my chart as well. But it was like I was trying to grasp the concept on a mental level. And she will always tell me, you know, it's in your mind, but you got to put it in your heart. And I didn't know how to do that because I'm so used to being so mental. I have an Aquarius moon, 3 Virgo placements, 3 Saturn placements. Like, everything is very mental. So, but it wasn't until like I had like a realization over this past weekend, really, that, you know, I had to allow myself to just understand, like, well, first of all, I wrote down like 7 pages of everything that I was afraid of. Hi. I love you too. I had to write down everything that I was afraid of happening in my life, and I noticed that I never really spoke about all the things I was afraid of, which kept the fears going over and over and over and playing like over and over again. So what I did was I allowed myself to fully write those out and then speak them aloud. So it's not that they become real and they're going to actually take place. It's I actually end up having more control over my emotions and how I see things, and I let them go and I release them, and I, you know, threw it away with the intention that I'm never going to be afraid of any of those things ever again. And anytime I have any other fears that come after that, I can speak those out loud, and I don't have to be afraid that if I say it, that means it's going to happen. And I used to have issues with that in my last relationship with quadruple Scorpio, where he would say things and I would get so nervous and scared, like, no, please don't say that, like, what if it happens? And it's like, no, like, you take more power in the situation by speaking it out loud, because, you know, you're allowing yourself to process those dark thoughts, those dark emotions. And now that you've brought it to the light, the sun, yes, it does have warmth, it does grow things, but it also brings death. It does bring death. And the sun is able to the light of information is completely able to burn through it, because the information that you're taking in, you have so many different ways on how to think about the situation, and also prevent it if possible, so you don't have to think about it that way. You don't have to have those fears. And that's what where faith comes in. You want to have complete and utter faith. And my realization with writing all those down that came the next morning was that, you know, the proof that I am, it's the smell of rain smells so good right now. But it's like I am proof that God exists because I am God. I was made in the image of God, which is something that is complete, pure, unconditional love. So if I am God, because I was made in God's image, so therefore I am that person. I am that energy, because it's just an energy. It's not a he, she, or whatever. It's just what it is. If that's what I am, and I serve God, I only serve God, and I pay attention to the kingdom of God. I don't pay attention to other people's kingdom of God, because that's none of my business. You know, the scriptures say, Matthew 6:33, is to seek first his kingdom, the God's kingdom, and all these other things will be added to you. So as long as I'm focused on serving God, that's nothing else that matters. But the confusion for me came in was that I was trying to copy how someone else was doing it, because that's just what I knew. I didn't know anything else. And then now I'm at the point in my life where it's like, no, it's like this. It's not that. I can learn from their experiences, Sagittarius energy. I can learn from someone else's experience. But my mother is the greatest teacher. My mother is the greatest experience for me when it comes to that, because everything that I've experienced with my Jupiter being exalted in Cancer as well, and she has a moon in Cancer, so that was like perfect. But it was like the greatest gift that was given to me was that experience. And not only her teaching experience, but her ability to share her emotional experiences on my Jupiter and Cancer, that going together, because the moon is home in Cancer and then Jupiter is exalted. So now those two getting together and, you know, sliding that watery information, that subconscious information back and forth, also fears, because moon does rule fears and mystery. But it was like that experience taught me like what signs to look for and how to interpret it as well. So it was like, now I have a better understanding that yes, I am God and I serve God, which means I do serve myself. And I have always had issues, you know, with boundaries. And this full moon taking place in my 8th house is also helping me realize that having emotional boundaries, and Pisces being a boundless, nebulous type of energy, is kind of hard to create boundaries sometimes. And then when it comes to that energy always blending with its environment, because, you know, it's the last, it's the encompassing all. That's what Pisces is. So having that understanding in a way where now it's not I'm not under it anymore. Now I can overstand it. Basically, it went from understand to overstanding. That's what I am doing now. And then I started to look at a lot of things differently, that I've always tried to see it in this way, but I guess, you know, in my own personal journey, I just wasn't there yet. So now that I feel like I am there yet, I've reached the full, you know, stride of whatever knowledge I was supposed to have during that previous cycle. I feel like this cycle I'm walking into is like, okay, so now what? But it's like, now what? Yeah, you gotta have faith now. Like, now you gotta have faith in everything now. You can't go back to that time where you were trying to work on having faith. Like, no, you actually have faith now. Like, now you recognize your faith now. So now you have to wear that shit every fucking time and make it a good one. So yeah, I know that with this Virgo and Pisces aspect, anytime there's a Pisces moon, things get a little crazy-ish. I'll say crazy, but it's like whatever emotional vibration you're currently feeling when the moon is in Pisces is trying to force you. Those waters, subconscious, unconscious waters, are trying to push you to release it. In a lot of ways, when it comes to Piscean energy, the best way people can release certain things is if it's some type of mind altering state involved, whether it's smoking or drinking or, you know, getting some type of high to raise yourself out, because what Pisces is, it has no boundaries. It's like basically you have no skin, like your skin is Saturn, right? And then you take that off, you know, Uranus, now Aquarius, you know, you take your skin off and now you look kind of weird. But, you know, you have the same things, you know, covering your body. And then Pisces is like that water or whatever it is, whatever outside force can easily penetrate your bones and your muscles and your cellular structure, because you no longer have that barrier. But that's basically what the moon is trying to do. And because it's a full moon, you're becoming fully illuminated to unconscious ways that you overthink, overanalyze, that you need to fully release, because it's blocking you from manifesting what it is that you work every day towards. So and Virgo is about daily habits, being healthier, especially mental health. The full moon in Pisces is going to show you where you may be a little off when it comes to your health, so you can fix it. And you can go through from the full moon to the new moon is when you start releasing everything that has been kind of like blocking you and making you feel like you can't do something that you actually can do. You just been too Pisces, the moon card, you kind of been too afraid, or you've been kind of trying to escape reality. And that's what Pisces does too. It tries to escape reality through somewhere else, because it's such a nebulous energy. It can literally go through any dimension. Ask a Pisces, like seriously. They can literally be here and not here at the exact same time. But it's because they are a nebulous consciousness that is walking around. They're completely aware of the fact that everything is connected, and they're connected to everything. And even if they're not fully aware of it in their conscious mind, they still behave in the manner that it demonstrates that completely. And, you know, this full moon also is about allowing yourself to dream, allowing yourself to use your imagination and dream big, like bigger than you ever dreamed before. And settling out or putting to the back burner all the practicality of Virgo, where it's like, well, does this make sense, or how is this going to work? Like, you really sometimes have to quiet that part of your mind, the constantly analyzing part of your mind, and allow yourself to just dream big, and don't hold back either. Don't try to hold back like, oh, I can't do this because practically I have to do this first. Like, no, just allow yourself to dream whatever dream you want to. Use your imagination. That is your direct connection, emotional connection to source, is your imagination. You have to use your imagination. That is how you can control. You have some control over what you manifest. If your imagination and your emotional body is always attached to bad things happening, that's exactly what you're going to get. And then your practical mind be like, well, I did all the work, and you know, this is just not added up. You didn't allow yourself to look beyond your physical Virgo analysis to allow yourself to dream, like, what if this actually happens the way that I always dreamt it would? Or what if this actually goes better than anything I ever thought would happen? What if this relationship is really the best relationship I've ever been in? What if this trip I want to take actually comes true? What if this career change that I'm about to make actually, you know, is the best change that I've ever made in my entire life? What if, you know, what if? Just dream big and don't hold back. Don't try to stop yourself. As soon as you are dreaming or imagining something that actually makes you happy, 10 of Cups, and you try to stop yourself from dream, think about why you're stopping yourself. That's the only thing you should be analyzing, is why are you stopping yourself from having exactly what it is that you want? Why can't you imagine having everything you want? And if you're just imagining it and you're stopping yourself, that means when it tries to come to you in the physical realm, you do the same thing. You stop it. So you having to remove that subconsciousness, Pisces, out of your way and have more faith in the fact that, you know, the divine feminine energy picks up, the great mother picks up on that same energy, you know, and it's like, okay, so I love you, but you know you messing up with your own manifestations, right? Like, you know you can have anything you want, right? You know you're a physical representation of the freaking universe, right? Nobody asked the sun to come here. It did it on its own. Like, nobody asked the moon to be here. It just did it on its own. Why do you feel like you can't do that for yourself in every direction of your life? And being humanoid, we have a tendency with the Virgo side, to go back to that, to overanalyze, measure, get insecure. And it doesn't mean like insecurity is not a bad thing. It's just an alarm going off in your head telling you, like, you really want to do this, but for whatever reason you stopping yourself. Like, that's what insecurity actually is. It has nothing to do with contentiousness or covetousness. That's something by itself. That's why it has its own word. But insecurity comes from not being responsible, not being accountable. That's really the basis of it. So be responsible, be accountable, especially nowadays. Saturn just went through Capricorn, now it's in Aquarius. You got to be responsible for your individuality and being different and owning it, because the last 3.5 years just taught you need to be self-sufficient on all grounds, period. Uranus is in Taurus, letting us know you have to find your own way to generate prosperity and abundance. And because it already is endlessly inside of you, because you are a manifestation of God, Goddess, the universe, the all supremeness, you can do it. You can do it, and never let anybody tell you different. And that's why Saturn and Jupiter are together in Aquarius right now, because there will be opinions that attack you from media sources, family, friends, strangers, whomever. There will be people who attack or try to assassinate your character and your individuality. But Jupiter is here to give you the gift that comes with you withstanding and say, yeah, I know that's how you feel, but that ain't got nothing to do with me. And then Jupiter gives you a gift like, oh, you stood up for yourself. Here you go. Now you have an expanded awareness from how your life could have been in that experience, but you chose the individual experience. You didn't follow the path leading off to destruction. You didn't follow what everybody else is doing. You chose your own path, and that's what it's about right now. And Aquarius does in conjunct Virgo, but we're about to move into Libra season anyway. So things regarding structure, belief systems, philosophies, discipline, all of that's about to get consciously for us is going to get easier, because Libra and Aquarius are both air signs. So it's going to get easier for us to manage that. But starting the equinox where the sun begins to fall, we're starting that off first with the full moon release. So we get this full moon release, we get that energy out, that subconscious energy out that's been blocking us from starting this new phase in our lives and being true to self. We kind of reconnect with our imagination. We're reconnecting with God and what God is on an individual level, not a worldwide web perception. And then we go into the fall. The sun begins to fall in Libra because it has to balance. It's getting darker and darker. But the sun has to balance its light and attention. And of course, the Bible says, the light shines on the righteousness and the wicked. You know what I'm saying? But Libra is like judgment. The judgment card in the tarot deck is Libra, Pluto. So now we have to start weighing out, okay, all the work that I've been doing since Aries season, which is the actual beginning of the year, what have I been working on? What has it brought me so far? And what do I need to get rid of? Pisces full moon as well. And the full moon in Aries is going to be like, okay, now we're starting over again. Now we're getting it going again. The new moon in Libra, which is going to come after this full moon, is you making a conscious decision to plant new seeds of how you're going to relate to your individuality, trying over to Aquarius, and your own way of thinking, trying over to the North Node in Gemini, air trine, communication, thinking processes. How are you going to move from here on out? Because your first relationship is with yourself, and the one that comes after that is everything else. So developing your relationship with the all allows you to be more patient, be more just, be more slow to speak, eager to hear. And Mars in Libra is setting us up for that. Yes, we might want to blow off and go off on somebody, but Mars in Libra won't allow you to do it. It will force you to take your time and weigh your options before you respond. If you have a lot of air energy in your chart, definitely will be more supportive with communications, written or spoken. But yeah, so I'm trying to think, is there anything else I want to discuss, because I'm losing light with the sunlight because the sun is setting. But thank you all so much for tuning in. I definitely appreciate it. I just want to, I wanted to say something, but it kind of just left me a little bit. Oh, let me get some cards. That's what I was supposed to do. So we got the the 7 of Cups, I'm sorry. This is stones. But this is the full moon. You see that snake there. So like I was saying before, you're being fully illuminated to something that may be kind of shocking or overwhelming for you emotionally, or subconsciously. So I do take that, even with my own experience, as having psychic phenomenons or paranormal activity, or just being more connected to your medium abilities, because you can focus on that and it'll start to turn on more and more and more as you practice with it. So we got the Page of Wands, which is the Page of Bones in this deck. So this is about taking quick action. This is a Sagittarius card. So far we got Scorpio and Sagittarius. And I was just talking about those two as well. One more, please, for this full moon. The Page of Wands is someone who likes to take quick action. They also one who goes in and out very often. Like sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. So maybe you identify in places in your life where you wanted to start something, like I was saying before, but you've been holding yourself back from doing it out of sheer imagination of it going bad or wrong. But you have the ability to release that during this full moon. And the last card, we have the upside down. We have the Queen of Swords, or the Queen of Bows in this deck. So, and this is a Libra card, and we're about to go into Libra season in the next couple days. So know that Spirit is always here. You always have guidance all around you. You always have signs that you manifest all around you. All around you. Now, how you use your imagination to interpret the signs that come to you is totally on you. That's what free will is. But all of us came down here with the agreement and an assignment to God of what we're going to do. Start reconnecting with that assignment and allowing your mind to drift into imagining your life being the complete embodiment of why you are here. And it has nothing to do with sodomizing. It has nothing to do with slavery. No, God is a jealous God. Because why would you love someone else more than you love yourself? You always have compassion for yourself, so you can have compassion for other people. That's Pisces. Okay, at the bottom, we got the Judgment. Okay, so now's the time to look at areas of your life where you've kind of been pussyfooting around and to getting things done, and just get it done. Allow yourself to get over the fears, get over the mysteries, get over the what ifs. Make every instance, Virgo has a way of saying, all the bad things first, the things that they don't like first, and then they go back and look at all the things that they do like. So if you have to do that, that's very good. Always use the full moon time 2 days before and 2 days after to, with this specifically, go through all the things that you're scared to do or you don't want to take a risk in doing, or anything that's mentally blocking you, people blocking you, situations that may be blocking you. Get everything out that you dislike, that you don't like, all the little details of things that make you upset that you can't focus your mind in the way that you want to. And then follow up with that Piscean energy where you use your imagination to allow yourself to see play out like a movie in your own head, eyes open or closed, it actually going the way exactly the way you want, and you can use anything to make up those spots where you feel like you're missing, those details that irritate you. Replace it with something else that's going to make you feel good and happy and joyful. Allow your imagination to go super far, because you have no idea how God works, because it's in what? Mysterious ways, right? Pisces energy. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and conclude here on that note. I will be finishing up Libra through Pisces videos more than likely tomorrow. Tomorrow is Mars Day, time to take action. So go ahead, like candles, you know, write down your dreams and wishes you want to see fulfilled. And remember, never block yourself, only block the haters, okay? Make your life greater. Peace, love.